There are
Mhm.
hundreds of cases related to Delhi riots, each case with one particular specific incident, one murder, one arson, or whatever. But
Right.
then there is this mega case, which is called the conspiracy case, which is not about any one particular act of violence, but this
Mhm.
is about unearthing a deep conspiracy behind all that violence. This trial has been going on, bail denial has happened many times, but somehow, from my friends from the legal fraternity, there was some sense that no, this time it's going to be different. And for some reason, which I can't say, we had put some hopes. And the claim is that yes, I was sitting with Sharjeel Imam and Umar Khalid, and I instructed both of them with Mogambo like dialogues. Tum jaake yahan pe karoge, tum jaake yahan pe karoge. So that's the claim of the Delhi police. The claim is that the entire violence that took place was orchestrated,
Mhm.
that it was designed and planned,
Mhm.
that at the core of the planning were three people: me, Omar Khalid, and Sharjeel Imam.
Mhm.
Then, Pooja, isn't it funny that Delhi police has not spoken to me even once? They cannot find anything. And I say this with complete authority. There is absolutely nothing that connects Omar Khalid to any kind of violence.
Hello and welcome to Deshkaal with Yogendra Yadav. My name is Pooja Pillai. Earlier this week, the Delhi High Court denied bail to 10 accused in the Delhi riots conspiracy. These people, with names that you've heard, Umar Khalid, Gulfisha Fatima, Sharjeel Imam, these people have been in jail for 5 years. Now, Yogendra ji, you have written in your latest column for us that you have a personal connection with this case. Could you please tell us? And I believe there is more than there is a bit of a legal connection here as well. Can you please talk about it?
First, I mean, this piece is very personal to me. Personal in that I happen to know at least two of those accused very well. Umar Khalid, uh, I know him. Bano Jyotsna, his partner, somewhat his family as well. And Khalid Saifi, the other activist from East Delhi. I happen to know his family, Nargis, his wife, his children who are growing up now for the last 5 years, haven't seen their father. So that is the first thought that came to me. Somehow, this trial has been going on, bail denial has happened many times, but somehow, from my friends from the legal fraternity, there was some sense that no, this time it's going to be different. And for some reason, which I can't say, we had put some hopes. And when the judgment came, I was shocked. So it was very personal. It's personal in the other sense as well. That my first thought is, well, if Umar Khalid is in jail because he made speeches to say CAA, the Citizenship Amendment Act, is anti-Muslim, then I did exactly the same. Why am I not there? If Khalid Sefi is in jail for the crime of having organized the protests all over Delhi and tried to coordinate some of them, that applies equally to me. Why am I not there? And funnily, yes, there is a legal connection. I discovered that I actually do figure on the charge sheet of Delhi police. Now, just to clarify for our viewers, there are
Mhm.
hundreds of cases related to Delhi riots, each case with one particular specific incident, one murder, one arson, or whatever. But
Right.
then there is this mega case, which is called the conspiracy case, which is not about any one particular act of violence, but this
Mhm.
is about unearthing a deep conspiracy behind all that violence. And Delhi police's case is that the violence did not happen spontaneously, that it was planned. It was planned precisely by those people who were leading the anti CAA protest.
Right.
Delhi police's case is
Mhm.
that this anti CAA protest, the various places where dharnas were taking place, these were just cover ups for planning a violence. And all those people who were supporting the anti-CAA protest were quietly planning a major violence in Delhi. They made first attempt in the month of December, January. It did not succeed. Then they had a rethinking of their conspiracy, which was finally executed in the month of February. This is Delhi police's claim. And when was the conspiracy hatched? According to them, the first place where the conspiracy hatched was 8th of December in basement of a house in Jangpura that happens to be Prashant Bhushan's house. And the claim is that yes, I was sitting with Sharjeel Imam and Umar Khalid, and I instructed both of them with Mogambo like dialogues. Tum jaake yahan pe karoge, tum jaake yahan pe karoge. So that's the claim of the Delhi police. Well, I happen to write column doesn't mean that I cannot be involved in crime. Fair enough. So Delhi police thinks that I was involved in crime. But the funny thing, Pooja, is that if this is the claim is that the entire violence that took place was orchestrated, that it was designed and planned, that at the core of the planning were three people, me, Omar Khalid, and Sharjeel Imam. Then, Pooja, isn't it funny that Delhi police has not spoken to me even once in the last 5 years? You unearth a major conspiracy. You pick up two of those three people, put them in jail. You think denying them bail would be against national interest. And here is this third person who forget putting in jail. I'm not asking to be put in jail, but you do not even want to question that person. You do not speak to that person. You do not ask, what was that meeting all about? Why did you go there? What happened in that meeting? Clearly, Delhi police doesn't take its own theory seriously. And to my mind, the simple explanation is this, that even before Delhi police started investigating these riots, the conclusions were already supplied to them by the Honorable Home Minister in the Parliament. In the Parliament, he had already announced that there is a grand conspiracy. So Delhi police's job in the investigation was to discover a conspiracy which had already been announced. The trouble for Delhi police was that there's nothing that they can find connecting someone like me, for example, to violence. They cannot find anything. And I say this with complete authority. There is absolutely nothing that connects Umar Khalid to any kind of violence. In the case of Sharjeel Imam, he made a statement or two which you can say are irresponsible. But to connect that to inciting violence and executing it when Sharjeel Imam was in police's custody all this while. Sharjeel Imam was in jail when Delhi riots were taking place a few weeks before that. And Umar Khalid has been under police surveillance. He has someone from police track, with him all the time, 24/7. To imagine that this would lead to a conspiracy. The whole thing is so absurd. So they had to invent these kinds of very C-grade Hindi filmy stories of a conspiracy with all kinds of things, etc.
Right. Sir, I want to now take you back a little to look at the larger context from, the chain of events and the chain of political moments, in fact, leading up to this case. Now, the anti-CAA protests were a remarkable moment in modern Indian history. And these were large protests. Many of the protests were, in fact, in predominantly Muslim areas. The protests were led with the constitution in hand by many of these. And these were about questions of belonging. These are about questions of citizenship. Is this how, this characteristic of those protests, do we risk losing that now after this case?
That's what I say, Pooja, in the article, because I remember, I just cannot forget that day in Bhiwandi that I write about. Bhiwandi is a town, predominantly a Muslim town close to Mumbai. And in that town, there was this meeting. I was there. Umar Khalid was there. And Umar gave this speech, which I summarize. The speech is about invoking Bhagat Singh, about invoking Ambedkar, about Gandhi, because it is And he speaks about every kind of oppression, and speaks about Adivasis. He speaks about Pasmanda communities within Muslims who have been subjugated. So as a
Mhm.
part of that, he speaks that. So he gave that lovely, powerful speech. And at the end of the speech, he asked everyone to take out their mobile and switch
Mhm.
on the torch. It was evening, month of January, around that area, pleasant. And then there are tens of thousands of those lights. And Omar went on with his slogans of Azadi, Bhook se Azadi, Ambedkar wali Azadi, Bhagat Singh wali Azadi, CAA se Azadi, Nafrat se Azadi, etc. He went on and on. And I thought that moment, it was a very, very special moment. It was an Azadi to belong.
Mhm.
The word Azadi, which is a word from our freedom struggle, it's not an Azadi from something. It
Right.
is a yearning of the community to belong, accept
Mhm.
me as equal citizen of this country.
Mhm.
It was a movement of that. The Shine Bagh that came up in Delhi, and hundreds of Shine Baghs that came up across the country. I must have been to at least 2 dozens of them, mostly led by young Muslim women. And most everywhere you would have Gandhi, you would have Ambedkar, you would have Maulana Azad, you have Indian tricolor, and so on. So this is a moment any other country would have said, well, this is a moment of belonging. But this was criminalized. And that's the problem with so in the ruling of the court now, the organizing of the protest and organizing of violence are
Mhm.
fused together, as if organizing the protest was actually a criminal activity.
Mhm.
So, to my mind, yes, you're absolutely right. This was a unique moment. And as I say in the article, those tens of thousands of lives have faded away. And a
Right.
judgment like this, what does it tell you? That
Right.
doesn't matter if you are not communal, doesn't matter if you believe in democratic means. It doesn't matter that you want to take non-violent path. It doesn't matter that you believe in Hindu-Muslim unity. Now, that is a message it sent, and it's such a sad message for this country.
In fact, sir, you've also compared this to you've in fact said that this is like another ADM Jabalpur moment. Could you expand a little bit on that? Why do you make that comparison?
ADM Jabalpur is a very infamous case in the
Yeah.
history of
Yeah.
Indian
Yeah.
judiciary. This was
Yeah.
emergency. And in the
Mhm.
emergency, the government claimed that citizens have no fundamental rights. They
Mhm.
do not even have right to life.
Mhm.
So the question was, if the state kills you, can you go to court and say, why was my
Right.
son killed? Why was my brother killed? Can this be invoked? The case came up right to the Supreme Court at that point.
Mhm.
And remember, only one judge stood at that point, Justice H.R. Khanna.
Yeah.
He said, no, this
Mhm.
right cannot be extinguished. And and in the history annals of Indian judiciary, that has been one of the most shameful cases.
Okay.
Finally, that judgment was reversed in 2018. Ironically, Justice Chandrachud
By
himself was a member
by
of that
Justice
bench,
Chandra.
which
Yeah.
reversed it finally, the
Yeah.
Puttaswamy judgment. But that is one of the most shameful episodes, one of the lowest of Indian judiciary by all accounts. And
Mhm.
my suggestion is that the judgment given by Justice Kaur, authored by Justice Kaur and given by Justice Kaur in Chawla, would go down in the history of Indian judiciary as one more cringeworthy judgment, as a textbook example of what justice is not.
Mhm.
Legal analyst Gautam Bhatia, I've really drawn a lot upon him. He's written very systematically, he has written
Mhm.
with nuance, and he's written with courage. He was the first one when this case was progressing. He said the courts are behaving like stenographers of the prosecution. Prosecution comes up, gives all kinds of fantasies. These are fantasies. These
Mhm.
conspiracy theories are completely in air. And instead of interrogating that, court starts filling gaps in that theory.
Mhm.
Court takes over.
Mhm.
Recently, in fact, he says that there's a huge gap between the conspiracy theories. And the court steps in to create a bridge of smoke to connect those missing links. Point out, Pooja, that there's a very strange history to this case. While we speak of the larger history, we should not forget the specific history of this case. This is not for the first time that this is coming up. Now, as you know, bail applications come, and usually bail applications are taken with urgency.
Yeah.
Famously, Justice Chandrachud had said in a case of bail, 1 day's delay is 1 day too many.
Yeah. Yeah.
So bail is taken at that kind of urgency.
Yeah.
In this case, his application for bail has been, and then usually bail cases are disposed of in one single day. The judgment comes either the next day or at the most within a week or so. That's how bail cases. In this case, the bail was argued over months. Over months, the case is argued. At the end of it, the honorable judges say, all right, we'll pass the judgment. And then for months, the judgment is not passed. And then the judge is promoted to another high court. The same story, Pooja, is played out once again with the second judge, who again hears it for months and then does not pass an order and is then transferred to Madhya Pradesh High Court as the Chief Justice. This is the third bench to which the case had come, again heard over months. Again, the judge says that towards the end, within 2 days, we are giving a judgment. I have nobody to point out, to speculate what must have happened. Some people have said today on Twitter and so on as to whether Justice Kaur, who retires today, is going to get some post-retirement benefits. I do not know. It's sad to have to speculate it, but it is true that something very, very strange has happened in this case, which defies all norms, which defies all expectations, which forces us to speculate about things that we should not be speculating about.
Right, right. So you mentioned that you mentioned the whole urgency with which bail is heard, and the Supreme Court, in fact, has said bail, not jail. Is this now? Does this mean that the Supreme Court needs to step into this matter?
I hope it does. But as I pointed out, in the case of High Court, remember, here is a case where for 5 years, these people are in jail. As I said, at least in my view, there is zero evidence. The hearing has not started yet. The trial has not started. As yet, the trial is at the stage of framing of charges, which is to say the real trial has not even begun. And at this pace, it can take another 5 to 7 years. And therefore, in these cases, Pooja, bail is, decision on bail is the real decision. Because the moment you've decided not to give somebody a bail, you've condemned that person for years in jail. That's so finally, if they are exonerated, of what use it is after having spent 8-10 years in jail. So yes, the Supreme Court has to step in because the High Court has made a very interesting observation. For 5 years, the case is not being heard, and the High so 5 years, but please don't hurry. Take another 10 years. This is what the court seems to be saying. Yes, the Supreme Court needs to step in. I've quoted Amir Aziz again and again in this article.
Yes.
Because I think his poem captures so much more than any analysis can tell you.
Right.
And I would just read the last line of what I've quoted from him, his poem. This is the famous poem on Sab Yaad Rakha Jayega.
Yes.
And it says, तुम अदालतों से बैठकर चुटकुले लिखो, हम सड़कों दीवारों पर इंसाफ लिखेंगे. Is that true? Is this what Indian judiciary will reduce itself to? We hope not. Please remember, this is not a trial of Umar Khalid and 9 other accused. This case is a trial of India's criminal justice system. And so far, we have failed. We have failed miserably. Yes, you can say there are different courts, there are different benches, there are different times. But an ordinary person doesn't look at that. He simply says, oh, that person who was convicted for rape and murder, what was his name? Ram Rahim. Acha. But he's been out 14 times.
Yeah.
Someone who is not an accused. He is a convict for rape and murder. He's been out 14 times under this very criminal justice system. And these 10 people are in jail. While the court, with a microscopic lens, is trying to see what can be communal in what. Don't we remember what Kapil Mishra said? Don't we remember what Anurag Thakur said? Don't we have videos of that very moment during that riots of people who said the kind of things they said on video, which is available? So on the one hand, I have a lens to microscope to find that. On the other hand, I cannot even look at the remaining things with a normal naked eye. Would this not look incongruous? Would people not laugh at it? Would this not reduce the, the respect people have or should have for judiciary? Does this not bring judiciary itself into contempt? These are the questions we should be asking. And therefore, I would join you in saying, I really, really do hope that the Supreme Court, the apex court of this country, will step in and set this right.
So, what is the larger signal you think that is now being sent out by this judgment, by this refusal to give bail?
Unfortunately, the larger signal is quite clear. And in fact, Mr. Tushar Mehta said it in the court. He said, there's no need to give bail to these people. If you are against the nation, then you stay in jail till you get either convicted or you get released by the courts. But the only caveat is, he said, if you work against the nation, what he meant to say was, if we believe that you work against the nation, that's the catch here. So the simple message is, if the ruling dispensation identifies you and wants to put you in jail for having done nothing, and you believe that there is zero evidence against you, you believe that the whole thing is a frame up, still there's nothing you can do. Still you will just rot in jail without any possible recourse whatsoever. Now that's a very, very sad signal, because basically it would mean there is nothing called rule of law. If that is the signal, and the signal also is there are two kinds of rules. If you happen to be Yogendra Yadav, you get one treatment. If you happen to be Umar Khalid, you would get a different treatment. It depends on your name. Now, these are signals you don't want in this country. And these are signals which are so detrimental to the future of this country. We are not just speaking of these 10 persons. Please remember that some 10-year-old child is watching all this. Some 18-year-old young rebellious person is watching all this on television. What conclusions are, what message are we giving to that person if he happens to be Muslim? Do we as a country want to give that kind of a message? Or do we want to give a message that, okay, governments may be whatever they do, but there is judiciary. Judiciary is fair. Judiciary does not look at these things. If there is no evidence against you, you will be acquitted. Is that the message we want to send? That really is for the judiciary to decide. But as a country, as a nation, this is a very, very sad moment, and something that we must remember. And that's why I recall Amira Dev, Sab yaad rakha jaye.
So there is a sense of despair in those words that you have just quoted. But do you feel any optimism at all at this moment?
There is a limited question of the case now being heard in the Supreme Court. Of course, it will go up to Supreme Court. Of course, it will be heard. We don't know when and how, and his power of master of roster. So we have to really see that. So in that sense, I remain unsure, skeptical. But yes, we should always hope in this country. But in the long run, I do have hope. In the long run, sab yaad rakha jayega. Those who thought that during emergency they could get away with everything, finally they did not. So yes, there is a way history will remember all this, and there is a way in which all these things, a certain fairness will be restored. truth will emerge. When and how, we do not know.
Right. That is a bit of an uncertain note to end on, but there is also that optimism that you just spoke of. Thank you so much, Yogendra ji, for joining us today, and thank you for talking about this case with us. Viewers, those of you who joined us, thanks for watching this video. Thanks for subscribing to our channel. If you haven't, please do subscribe, like, and follow us. We will see you again next week. Thank you, sir.